and welcome to the Sunday Guardian podcast by Joyeeta Basu. Viewers, in 2025, we are almost at the end of the year. Have we witnessed a resurgence in terrorism sponsored by Pakistan, coming from Pakistan? We saw that it started with the Pahalgam attack, and apart from that, there were several instances, and particularly the last case that happened was the bomb blast in Delhi. And it was supposed to be, it turned out to be a huge plot of terror directed against civilians. So, what is going on? Are we losing the battle against terrorism? Is Pakistan becoming more and more increasingly, I would say, proxy war? It is increasing the intensity through terrorism. What is going on in the subcontinent in particular, and of course, inside India? Now, to discuss this and to give us an idea about what is going on, who else better than Lieutenant General Vinod G. Khandare, who is a former officer of the Indian Army. Of course, he retired from it in 2018. He was also military advisor to the National Security Council Secretariat of India from 2018 to 2021. And in his final active military appointment, he served as both the Director General of the Defense Intelligence Agency and Deputy Chief of the Integrated Defense Staff for Intelligence from November 2015 to January 2018. He was also Principal Advisor to the Ministry of Defense. Welcome to the show, Lieutenant General Khandare.
Thank you, Joyeeta, and a very big Jai Hind to all your viewers.
Thank you. There's so much to say about you. I would have run out of my time. But obviously, you're here. I'm privileged, actually, that you're here.
Thank you so much.
So first question, I started with the Pahalgam thing. What went wrong? Would you say that there is a resurgence in terrorist activities coming from Pakistan, and that this could have been what went wrong in Pahalgam in particular?
I must tell you that when you talk of terrorism, terrorism is not like a on switch, off switch, that you do something and thereafter no terrorism will happen. No, it's not that. Terrorism has deep roots, and these deep roots, firstly, in the psyche, and secondly, in society. So, who are the terrorists? These terrorists are the radicalized minds. Okay, we did something as a kinetic action, whether it is surgical strikes, Balakot, or Operation Sindoor. Then you did something administratively about Article 370. But the point here is, there is an ownership which lies within the community or within the society to de-radicalize the mind. How effective has that responsibility of society been fulfilled? If there was a particular lot of people who were radicalizing the minds for a number of decades, I'm not saying years, for a number of decades, has anyone taken a proactive view within the community or within that particular society to de-radicalize so that future generations do not face this problem? Or is the leadership within the society, known or unknown, wanting to keep it alive, dormant, not extinct, and bring it up again, whether it suits their political goals or whether it suits their goals of being in power in the religious fraternity? So, when you say terrorism, whether it has come back again, we must always be alive to the fact that it is dormant and it can be pulled back unless somebody is very proactive voluntarily. This kind of feeling cannot be imposed by law. A society has to start thinking about its own future. Do they want their future children to live in this? There was a particular generation since 1991 onwards, in Kashmir particularly, who only saw curfew, who only saw searches, who only saw military vehicles, CRPF vehicles, JK police vehicles all over. Now they started looking at better times. Since when? 2019 onwards. And suddenly we have Pahalgam. 6 years of peace, happiness. Look at the kind of tourism that came to them, 2.5 crores tourists in 1 year. I think Kashmiris never had it better than this. Then who's upset? If the common man is earning money, somebody is upset. He's not wanting the common man to start believing in somebody else other than himself. These are those people, whether you can call them some political leaders, some religious heads, some people who've been running tanzeems, they are upset. And they are the ones who bring back terrorism here, because if people don't believe in them, their money stops, their human resource stops, their power within Pakistan, it stops, and the sleeper cells in India also get impacted. So there is a parallel system. You and I, we are a system of law abiders. There is a parallel system which does not want law abiding citizens. So when you say, why did Pahalgam happen? Very briefly, that feeling that we have everything normal made the people believe that, okay, if the presence of military in these areas is reduced, it will help tourism. It will help people to feel that normalcy is there for keeps. That kind of a redeployment where the military repositioning of the post, police, JK police taking it over with the help of CRPF. Now, when this kind of a thing is being observed by a local citizen, at the same time by a person who's a sympathizer for terrorists, then this information goes across. Now, when this information goes across, automatically, whatever are the weaknesses, the fault lines, that also get picked up. There is a difference of operational ethos between the military and the police. Obviously, that also makes a difference, and this is known to our adversaries. So, if they find a post of a say Rashtriya Rifles company, and they find a post of CRPF, they have a method of evaluating as to which is more potent, which is more effective, which is effective in what way. So obviously, all these things were being studied carefully by those terrorists and their handlers. And I think that is when they picked up a place where the CRPF post was not there. Jammu Kashmir police was not there. There was a logistics problem of reaching there. So, in a nutshell, I would say a kind of an overbelief that everything has become normal because data showed 2.5 crores. Data also at times can be quite deceptive. It can lead you into some kind of wrong assessments. I think overall that could have been the reason.
So if there was army there, it could have been prevented instead of security being in the hands of CRPF and the Jammu and Kashmir police.
The army was always there. It used to be there, and then over a period of time, when things start becoming normal, what do? You reevaluate. You see, army is not meant for permanent deployment for internal peace and security. That is the job of somebody else. MHA is responsible for internal security. So, if situation improves, would you still continue with the military there? No. You would re-evaluate, and you would expect that the police and the CRPF would reach that level of proficiency where the absence of the military from there or the Rashtriya Rifles is not felt. So I think we still have a long way to go before the forces which are meant for internal security possibly could come up to that level. I think rather than blaming others, we need to see what can we do to improve.
Paramilitary forces and of course police. So what exactly is the problem in a nutshell, if you can mention?
See, initially, if you recollect, when Rashtriya Rifles uh, got raised, these are all 100% people who come from military units. Okay. So, out of the 60 plus battalions of Rashtriya Rifles, there are people who come for 2 to 3 years and then they go back to the parent unit. Then, as situation kept on improving, then CRPF kept coming in, and initially CRPF had problems. Then it was decided that CRPF would be trained at the military training establishments in the valley. So you had at every corps one training establishment, and the military instructors started giving them training. Now they are led by officers of their own cadre. They are not led by military at all. A lot will depend on how the organizational ethos develops. A lot will depend on how the leadership is there. A lot will depend on many factors. The kind of synergy that they will have between Jammu Kashmir Police, CRPF, the intelligence agencies, the kind of continuity they have with the people. Like Rashtriya Rifles, the battalions are by and large there for many years, many decades together. CRPF units come and possibly go. People come and go. People will come in Rashtriya Rifles also, but there has to be a kind of affiliation of the people with that particular unit. Say, for example, if you look at Bandipur, if you ask anybody in Bandipur, he'll straight away say 14 RR. What has happened? In the mind of generations together, there is an association that if something goes wrong or there is some information which he wants to share, he will straight away rush to 14RR company operating base, which we call as COB, and pass it on. Now, unless we get this kind of an affiliation between the civilians and the uniformed forces, whatever color of the uniform that may be, we will not come to a level where the trust factor, say, Joyita, for example, you have an information, you trust in me, you will tell me. But if I have come there yesterday, you will think twice whether you should tell me or not tell me. This is human psychology where I must preserve myself. My survival is more important than anything else. In other cases, people will say, my country is more important than my survival. But that is not the case everywhere. It may not be the case in most of the troubled areas. So I think what paramilitary forces and police, J&K police is very good. Believe me, the rank and file, I have operated with them so many times, and I can tell you the policeman is very good, the constable is very good, the SHO is very good, the SOG is very good, the Kashmir Police Service people, those officers, they are extremely good.
So how did the intelligence failure happen?
Now, when you talk of intelligence failure, very briefly I'll tell you, dime a dozen inputs come. Those are informations. That is not intelligence. Intelligence happens only once you collate all these information inputs, which may be coming from individuals, they may be coming from the local, they may be coming from the police people, they may be coming from traders, they may be coming from drones, they may be coming from satellite imagery. Once you've got all that together, what do? You rate that input based on the credibility of the source, the reliability of the source. If there is a person who keeps giving inputs every day and there is a history that he always takes you in trouble, then you'll rate him very low. If there is a single source input, again you will look at it with a question. Why only one single source? Why more sources have not come? CRPF would be giving some input, BSF would be giving some input, Jammu Kashmir Police, the Rashtriya Rifle, the regular army units, all that is collated together and then experts analyze it. Then there is a lot of sharing between all these agencies. Only then assessments are made. So, okay, another thing is out of 100 days, uh, the government or the armed forces would have succeeded 99 times. On one day, they didn't. And that is what Pahalgam happened. But at the same time, we cannot keep saying that we can't improve. We can improve. We should improve. Whatever has been the fault line, we need to improve and we shouldn't allow it to happen again. And it's not specific to only Pahalgam. It can be happening in Northeast. It can be happening below Pir Panjal. So lessons learned from such incidents, which are not good at all, but I think we can't say it is purely an intelligence failure. Somebody has not been able to assess it properly, made a decision which is possibly an error in judgment, may not be an error in intent. That's the way I look at it.
Now, when we are looking at the Kashmiri youth and specifically in the context of the blast that took place in Delhi, why is it that 6 years after the revocation of Article 370, why is it that we are still witnessing that youth radicalized, or I mean, if you in fact, these people are being called white collar terrorists. They are radicalized enough to willing to spread death and mayhem in large scale. Where are we failing in bringing some of these Kashmiris, I'm not going to say everyone, a section of them, to the mainstream?
See, uh, I will tell you that I have known thousands and lakhs of Kashmiris, very good people, whether white collar, blue collar, no collar, a radicalized mind is a radicalized mind. He may have come up through whatever route. He may have gone to medical college. He may have got a government job. That is based on his brilliance, that is based on his hard work in academics. But what is his ideology? Where is that hatred which he is nurturing? For what reason? There can be various reasons. There can be something where he feels aggrieved. There can be a perception of being persecuted. It's a perception. Why? Because somebody has been harping on him mentally when it comes to making a decision on how to be a good citizen. Maybe these guys have become robots. People have been hammering into them day and night for years together since their childhood. They have seen their parents also in a particular manner. They have grown up in localities where there has been talk only of hatred of a particular segment of society or a particular form of government, or they are in a dream world, a fantasy world that we can have ummah. The sense of democracy is for them only to take advantage of the system, that okay, I am supposed to get this. So far so good. When it comes to, I should get a seat in medical college, I should get scholarship, I should get A B C D. That's one separate segment of his thinking. But then there is a segment in his mind which is full of hatred, and that comes out when he gets a chance. Now, if you look at various age groups, there was a time when even a 6 year or an 8 year old boy used to come out to throw stones at the CRPF or Jammu Kashmir Police or the Indian military. What was driving him? He wasn't born like this, but in his community, within his family, day and night, if people are talking about that. So, what exactly has happened? If you want to reform your youth, the elders in the community, the teachers there, the brothers, sisters, father, mother, aunt, uncle, they have to take this responsibility. Just by saying that he's a white collared guy and he's not expected to be bad, we are again missing out on the psychology part. Okay, I'll give you another example. When we select people from the military, the officers, they go through a very stringent process of service selection board. What is the first test in that? Psychology. We are looking at guys who are positive for the nation. We are weeding out people for various reasons. Everyone who's weeded out is not anti national, but may not be suitable for this kind of a job. Similarly, in society, what do we want? We want positive citizens. I think what as a nation, what as a society we need to do is reduce the number of hate mongers. We have to bring in a sense of responsibility. Elders have to play their role. Teachers have to play their role. It's not merely a job for them that on first he's getting a salary. Political leaders have to play the role. It's not enough for them to only win elections by spreading hatred. This is a whole of society, whole of nation, whole of government. Everyone is involved. I think we cannot wish it away. And if we want to reduce these hate mongers or people who have a degree in their pocket but have hatred in their mind, I think this is not a good combination at all.
Now, would you say that there is Pakistan's, I mean, the nature of terrorism that is being pushed by Pakistan is changing? I would even use the word evolving, not only in terms of delivery, the way terrorism takes place, or the logistics is supplied. And not just that, also territory. Now it is gradually coming out of Kashmir to Jammu, and now they are targeting, they are going back to targeting the rest of India.
Terrorism will evolve, always. They will find ways and means to survive and spread. Arc of terrorism at one particular point in time was right down up to Coimbatore. If you recollect the days when even Sarojini Nagar market was not safe, you remember see, you go to a temple for what? Peace of mind. There was a period when you didn't know that if you went to a temple whether you would come back home alive. Raghunath temple or whatever number of temples which got targeted. Is the same thing repeating? See, it is there in their book that this is what was done and this is what got them good results. The proactive policies, the execution of tasks by security forces again pushed them into a particular state and then started reducing there also. So ISI is pulling out its toolkit which it was using earlier. So there's something where we should just look at it as they haven't given up their intent of disturbing India or harming India, showing India in bad light. See, the moment you show India in bad light for security, your foreign direct investments reduce. People want to quit, people want to go away from here. So they want to show this as a turbulent society. So initially, when we were young, we used to look at terrorism focused in a particular state, within a particular area within the state. Then the arc of terrorism would widen, increase. So there was a period when we used to say, oh, the arc of terrorism has gone up to Samba. And then we said, oh, it's gone right up to Bangalore. It's gone to Calcutta. So this is how it continues. It's a kind of a swing which happens. You are better off, it contracts. Where they see weakness in your internal security, they'll expand. So I think as a responsible state, every citizen, every state, when I'm saying state, I'm talking of province, their police and their intelligence has to be as good. Even if you are not impacted today or you are not impacted yesterday, terrorism can come to you anytime if you are weak.
No, but then when we are looking at, say, from 2014 to 2024, in the last decade, such incidents were almost nil. So, compared to that, 2025 is suddenly looking a little wobbly. So, what went wrong in the last 1 year?
Yeah, so if you have been able to pick up people and you've been able to pick up whatever was not supposed to come here in terms of explosives, the most important thing is the incisive analysis as to how did this thing come in. And that is where I think what is most important is we have to check our processes, our policies, our people who are in responsibility of ensuring that nothing comes across from the borders, from across the borders, or within the country. If there is a particular material which is meant for agriculture but which is being misused, is it always the responsibility of the police or responsibility of the military to do it? I think every department, every government department, every individual. I will give you a small example of how I view it. I had gone to one of the foreign countries and I was traveling in a taxi and I saw the driver was very vigilant. He was looking left, he was looking right. And I asked him, what is it that you're seeing? He says, I'm a citizen of the nation. Two eyes of mine belong to my nation. If I detect something which is wrong, I will report immediately. I said, but how will you report? You know that. He just brought that sunshade below. There were numbers given. So there is a method of ensuring that intelligence is picked up. So if you have 1.4 billion population, you have 2.8 billion ears and eyes. China also does the same thing. They have a principle of 1,000 grains of sand. Every citizen is duty bound to report. In our case, is there anything of that nature? You have the goodwill, fine. Or are you scared of reporting because you don't want to get entangled into something? What we need to do now is to make things better for citizens' involvement. A citizen should not be scared of going to a police station. A citizen should be very comfortable going to the police station, reporting or numbers for helpline, where he is very sure that he will not be hounded. But at the same time, I pity the police also because they get such prank calls. So after all, he's also a human being, no? So we need to become a more responsible society. Whether it happened in 25, it didn't happen in 24, but what we should be looking at, it should not happen in 26.
Yeah, so I guess yes. Now, in this context, what is the Khalistani situation? Is there any fear of the Khalistani terrorism again? I mean, returning to India? Because
You
radicalization is taking place in Punjab, we are constantly told.
you look at what has been the plan of ISI. The plan of ISI has been what they call as K2, Kashmir and Khalistan. That's what their plan has always been. And the kind of funding which the Khalistani groups were able to generate abroad. And most of these masterminds are abroad, whether they are in Canada, whether they are in UK, whether they are in other parts of Europe or Australia. So while we keep a watch over them, but with the digital connectivity, it is extremely difficult to see the kind of penetration that they would achieve. So a lot of vigil is kept on that. But at the same time, also, there is something which you need to introspect in a manner. There's been a lot of news about radicalization within Punjab. What you said is right. But there's a lot of news about conversion from one religion to another. So if the Khalistanis were so concerned about their own religion, what is it that they are doing about stopping this conversion? So I think there is a lot of hypocrisy there. They are looking at an independent state and they can't protect their own population. I think they possibly are looking at the wrong place. They need to keep their population together, at least if they are well minded, or if they are focused properly, uh, or if they are only looking for power, then this is the way they will behave. So I think in the cognitive domain we have to study their minds also, and I feel whatever radicalizing they want to do, but the local population of Punjab, of a generation which has seen the suffering during that period of the 80s, they would not want to go the way it had happened earlier. My generation of people, we've seen the worst of what happened in Punjab, what happened in Kashmir, what happened in Northeast. Around the same time, we were busy in Sri Lanka, we were busy in Siachen. So you can imagine what we were going through. And we've seen it all. So I can still feel that maybe Pakistan may not be able to succeed to the level that they succeeded earlier. Maybe we've learned our lessons well, and the civil population, which has got nothing to do with the Khalistani minds, they may not want to support them the way once upon a time they did.
Yeah, now before I move on to Pakistan specific groups and what is going on there, one last question in terms of internal security. Naxalism, is it actually really dying?
I can tell you a few things based on my own experience. Just, I think 2 days back, I was in Hyderabad and I went to one of the ashrams, a wonderful place. You know, people who run these ashrams, uh, many of us don't know what they are doing. And in my interaction with the people there, they told me that they're running schools in those Naxal or Maoist affected areas. They're getting the children out, they're making them study, they're showing them what really they should be aiming at, and not looking at a life where they are always on the run. That kind of thing. So, and again, coming back from what we started with terrorism, nothing dies fully till the society or the community wants it to die. So, if now there are good people getting the children out, you'll be surprised. These ashrams and these good people in society, and I'm not saying that the government is not doing, government is also doing a lot. So you have the entire society, which is government, non-government, all of them coming together and doing so much for the people who were for decades together impacted adversely by this kind of so-called movement. It may not be fully dead, but we are going in the right direction. Now is the time we don't get slack and we say, oh, it's dead, so back to normal. And we start committing the same mistakes. No, if that happens, there'll be a cyclic repetition of what has happened earlier. So, the responsibility in governance and law enforcement is to ensure that the best possible governance is done there, best possible law enforcement. It cannot be, oh, I've been posted there in governance position and I'm there to clock only 12 months or 14 months or 24 months. No. You have to really become the CEO of that district, whether it is law and order, whether it is development. If you show them your commitment, I'm sure they will not go on the wrong way.
What's going on in Pakistan? I mean, specifically in terms of we keep hearing about these unknown men suddenly taking out these prominent, if they can be called prominent, quote unquote, prominent faces of terrorism. Are we involved?
Every country does it.
Are we doing it?
See, the point is, if there's an enemy of my country, we give them a dossier and then he's respected because that dossier is taken as a citation of how good he did for his country. You go to a UNO, multilateralism is practically, it doesn't have teeth. What do you want to do? Many a times you also have to look at what your forefathers and ancestors taught you. Do you want to leave your enemies alive? Do you want to defang them? Of course. Now, whether you call them unknown men, whether you call them patriots, whether you call them by whatever name, tell me one thing. You remember on the last few days of 1999, there was a aircraft which was hijacked,
Yes.
and the kind of pressure which the citizens brought on the prime minister then, and we had to release the terrorists. Those guys have created hell for us. You look at Jaish e Mohammed. He was the guy who was released. He's the guy who's carrying out so much. Would you want him to continue doing that? Should you not use everything that is possible in your armory to ensure that he does not create mayhem in your society just because you're civilized? They are uncivilized, barbaric. You want them to create problems for your children? You want them to create problems for you? So, if there is a strong state, the strong state will do everything possible within its power to ensure that enemies, whether they are within the country or outside the country or in a third country, should behave.
Good point. Very good point. The thing is that now, since you mentioned the hijacking, the plane was taken to Kandahar. Now, which brings me to Taliban. The thing is that now Taliban, they are saying that we are not going to allow any terrorism to emanate from our territory. Can we trust the Taliban?
In international politics, there is never a perfect solution of 2 plus 2, 4. At times, 2 plus 2 can become 22 also. At times, 2 plus 2 can still remain at 2 because it requires both sides to have that kind of trust within each other. There is nothing known as a perfect solution. So, what you require to do is have national interests at the topmost level. Okay, I'll give you a small instance to or our ancient wisdom, so to say. Kautilya wrote Mandal theory, a theory where he is shown concentric circles. Immediate neighborhood is the smallest circle, which is next to you, and the next circle, which is the neighborhood of your neighbor. And Kautilya says very clearly that while you call your immediate neighbor as a friend for relations of trade and peace, but he is a natural enemy. So, to keep him within control and to ensure that he does not create problems for you, his neighbor should be your friend. Where do you put Taliban? Afghanistan automatically becomes a preferred partner because he is the neighbor of Afghanistan, of Pakistan.
Pakistan.
So, see, there is so much of wisdom in what has been written. You don't have to reinvent something which is already there, provided you study that. If our current day modern generation does not want to study that but go to Oxford, Cambridge, who have picked up these issues of wisdom, in foreign countries, Kautilya is taught. I want to see in which syllabus of Indian school or college is it taught. So you'll go there, learn and come back. One of the defense attaches of United Kingdoms, he did PhD once he was posted in Delhi on Kautilya. There's something wrong with us. We can't, whatever is local should not be considered cheap. It is rich. So when you say about whether we trust Taliban or not, we collaborate. As long as our national interest is most important, paramount, we will continue. And if we feel that there is something which is going wrong, it's not cast in stone. No? You can redraw the lines. So that is how pragmatic, I think, kudos to our external affairs minister, is absolutely on the ball.
Now, this brings us to the question of Pakistan. Would you say Asim Munir is the biggest terrorist of them all? And how would you profile the terror groups of Pakistan? And it is surprising that FATF, we are not being able to put them back on the FATF grey list.
You asked three questions in one question.
Yes.
So, Asim Munir, first part, when you look at somebody, don't look at his picture, look at his mind. Asim Munir, his ancestral home was in what is India, Jalandhar. He's migrated from here. Okay, now you look at Pakistan military. In Pakistan military, whenever you had a muhajir or somebody who's gone from India, they have been the worst. Look at Parvez Musharraf. 1965, Mohammad Musa was their chief. Yahya Khan, again one of the same class, 1971. Parvez Musharraf in 1999. And you look at this gentleman now. I'm making a mistake calling him a gentleman. But he is showing that he is very much radical by talking about anti Hindu and how can these two religions coexist. And he's doing that on purpose. Why? His entire tenure, right from the beginning, has been so bad. Never ever has it happened that the population, the civilian population, attacked military cantonments. They didn't have the guts to ever enter the corps commander's house and ransack it. But it happened during his time. Now he had to show the people that he's possibly very strong. So that hate speech on 17th of April. Okay. Now, by the content of the speech, I will go along with you when you say that he's a terrorist. Because a terrorist, one is to pick up a weapon, and second is to pick up this kind of a thought process which you pour into the minds of the people to say, we must destroy India. And one thing for sure, in Pakistan, they may have differences between each other, but the moment it is anti-India agenda, they all combine. All sectarian disputes, all regional disputes, everything goes out. Corruption goes out because there is one common agenda about anti-India, and that's what he's picked up very well. So that is the first thing. The second thing you asked me about the terrorist tanzeems. You look at what we picked up for Operation Sindoor as the targets among the terrorists. And see, India has always had a policy of anti-terrorism, countering terrorism, preventing terrorism. So that's been our focus. So when the kind of decision which was taken at the apex level that we will hit out at the terrorist targets. So on the first night, 6th, 7th night, what did we hit? We hit Jaish-e-Mohammed, who have a huge headquarter at Bahawalpur. Bahawalpur is in their Pakistan, Punjab. They always felt that we will hit targets in POK. When we hit them in Pakistan, Punjab, I think they were most uncomfortable because bulk of the officer military leadership comes from Pakistan, Punjab. Their ego got punctured. The second terrorist tanzim also, Lashkar-e-Toiba, they can call it Jamaat-ud Dawa, but Lashkar-e-Toiba, Sayyid Salahuddin. That headquarters is in Muridke, again Pakistan, Punjab. Hizbul Mujahideen also has set up in Muzaffarabad as well as in Pak Punjab. Even that got hit. We wanted to hit them, we hit them. Why? In their society, the hero worship is based on, oh, he's from Lashkar-e-Toiba, he's from Jaish-e-Mohammed, he's from Hizbul Mujahideen. Youth idolize these terrorists. And they always felt that, look, we've been doing so much against India, They have never hit us in our own, what is our backyard. And when these missiles went and destroyed those huge edifices, what is it that has happened in the minds of the youngsters? Oh, they can reach up to this place. They have hit us where we thought we are absolutely sovereign, we are absolutely total lordships. And now suddenly they realize, no, no, we are not. We can be hit anywhere. So these three tanzims essentially, out of these, the first two, that is Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, they have these two people out of them quite bad, but Masood
Masood
Azhar,
Azhar.
he obviously I normally get confused in the pronunciation because he's not worth remembering correctly. He was the one who was released during the Kandahar crisis. So again, for us, a lesson learned is a nation has to be resilient. I may have my personal problems where if a hostage is from my family, but when we compromise on that because of public pressure, so that shows that our strategic culture also has certain gaps. We need to look at the nation first. And that is where we can learn from other nations in the world, where possibly in some states, even in democracies, they won't have released this person. But look at the kind of public pressure that was exerted on the prime minister then. And Hizbul Mujahideen is headed by Sayyid Salahuddin. He's from our Kashmir Valley. And imagine his sons were in government employment. And it took us so many decades to push them out because not only were they sons of this man, but they were also possibly involved in anti India activities. Post Sindoor, so many things have got discovered. So many illegal Pakistanis have been staying here, sleeper cells. You mentioned about FATF. Every step has led us to discover the financial trail. Up to a particular point, we were quite benevolent and we said, cross LC trade. We will send stuff from here, they will send stuff from there. There was under invoicing, over invoicing, and that money was being generated to fund the terrorists here. You had people from Kashmir going and studying in medical and engineering colleges in Pakistan, and Hurriyat was collecting money from those people who are going from here. That money was again being pushed into there are certain mandis there which were generating a lot of money and passing it on to Hurriyat and then giving it. All that put together was pushed into FATF and it proved very well. They came under the grey list a number of times. Now, over a period of time and after Article 370 went out, we all felt that this has dried up. What went wrong is again something where new methodology. What is that new methodology? Where you can't connect the financial trail. How? You send a drone from Pakistan into India with drugs. Those drugs are sold in Punjab, those drugs are sold in Kashmir. Your youth goes down the drain. Money generated out of that is now used. Now, how do you connect that? So, this is a new challenge. So, every time you do something to nullify an evil, the evil mind will come up with something new. So, you have to come up with that. So, now obviously, the counter drone implementation of that policy, creating an ecosystem where you will not allow the drones to bring in this contraband, narcotics, or whatever, weapons, or whatever. So, this is a continuous challenge. So, we have to again find a financial trail to terrorism. Only then can you take them to FATF.
So we need to work harder.
Yes.
The China angle. What exactly is the support that China is providing to different groups? I mean, if not obviously openly, covertly, that can destabilize India's internal security. How big a threat is China when it comes to terrorism?
You remember what George Fernandez had said very clearly, and people got after him? He was the first one who very clearly said, described China as India's enemy. People were at that time wanting extremely cozy relationship with China, and he was the one who called out. Okay, China, you have to again understand the psyche of China. It's not the same as Pakistan. Pakistan will openly come to confront. China very cleverly will confront through a third party. Whatever Pakistan is doing, there is a certain amount of collusivity between China and Pakistan. Whether it is funding, whether it is intelligence, whether it is equipment, it will continue like that. After 1979, have you seen China in any kinetic conflict with anyone? Nowhere. Even when they send peacekeeping mission, and if there is a problem in that peacekeeping mission, their people run away. So they just very clear they don't want to get seen as involved in a kinetic conflict. So the support which will be given to those who conduct terrorism or proxy war or creating turbulence here will happen. Whether it's in the northeast through Paresh Barua, through Ruili, which is a border town between Myanmar and China. Paresh Barua is based there. So that northeast part, it will continue. Now, if they use Bangladesh, definitely, why not? If they use Nepal to push in people through ISI also, why not? So ultimately, you will not find the China link because the front face is always the Pakistani ISI. So funding, obviously, ISI does it. Perception shaping, now that is the biggest issue. Funding and all is, we all know it. What we don't know very well is the perception shaping. How do you do that? A few threads. Say, for example, if you use the digital media and you use that entire information space, which is converted into information battle space, and you show some higher ups, whether in Indian government or Indian military or in the ministry, as corrupt or whatever, and you tarnish the image, what happens in the successive people generation? People stop taking decisions. No risk, risk averse. So you then fall back. You go down. If there are police people or intelligence people who are very good and strict, and they are shown in bad light, what will happen? They get into a self preservation mode. So information is something which is weaponized to a level where terrorism can be used because the good guys in the government are made subservient for their own integrity or for their own reputation. So this is, so funding is one part, but how do you disable the good guys is by using this information space. You know, nationalism becomes a bad word. Why does nationalism become a bad word? I think love for the nation should always be high. But if that is shown and colored and over a period of time, everyone is tarnished to say, oh, he's a rightist. Being right is not wrong, no?
Absolutely.
So that is the point where China is perfecting that art for terrorism. That is supporting it in every possible manner through the volunteers, that is ISI and Pakistan Army. But when it comes to kinetic war, the kind of weaponry, today nearly 80% of Pakistan Army's military's weaponry is there, which is from China. Bangladesh is now very happy to get that at concessional rates because of the ISI advice there also. So such things will happen. More important than that is within India. You remember what General Rawat, the first CDS, used to say about 2.5 front, and that zero point 0.5 front he said at home. That is the worry. That is the worry because that money is getting routed through various, uh, say, sources and coming to create fault lines within the internal cohesion. So if you have sleeper cells which get active, and China is doing a lot of funding, Pakistan is doing a lot of funding, people will ask, Pakistan doesn't have money. From where does it come? Whether it comes from narcotics, whether it comes from China, obviously. Does it come from CI? Possible. All routes are possible for, because there are countries who do not want India to rise. And terrorism is one sure short way of keeping them tied down in a turbulent present and turbulent future.
In this context, Bangladesh is becoming, would you say that Bangladesh is becoming a big threat for India?
Nuisance, more than the
Okay.
threat, nuisance. And threat only if that soil is used by a third country, whether it is Lal Munir Hat or whether it is Rangpur or whether it is any other place along the border, pushing illegal immigrants here, pushing narcotics again here, creating radicalized minds all along the Bangladesh border. Incidentally, Bangladesh border is the biggest border which India shares with any other country. So to man that and to prevent all such movements across the border is a very difficult task. So Bangladesh, as of today, is a big nuisance. But when it comes to threats for Siliguri corridor or things of this nature, yes, it can become a threat. But I think the government is quite vigilant and they have been taking measures to ensure that it does not transform from a nuisance to a threat.
Well, last question. Of course, viewers, he mentioned this before the program. Do we lack shatrubodh, as you were speaking, telling me?
You know, Joyita, I always have been quite, uh, I would say, I have been quite aware of what has been written by our ancestors. There are two terms which are extremely relevant today: Swabodh or Atmabodh, and second is Shatrubodh. Who am I? What is my weakness? What is my strength? I must play on my strength. I must plug my weakness. And definitely, I must not announce my weakness to the world as some of the guys are doing here.
They
Going
keep
on
doing
prime
that.
time and announcing, oh, this is wrong, that is wrong. If it is wrong, you just walk up to your counterpart and tell him, no, let him correct it. You don't have to be announcing to the third country and telling them, this is wrong in my country, please use it. So obviously, there's something wrong with that swabodh. Shatrubodh, now this is something serious. You know, we are civilized people. We have a civilizational history of thousands of years. We have evolved. It's not a revolution in our civilization. We are tolerant people. We are good people. What do we say? We talk about good for the world. We talk of good for environment. We talk of good for neighborhood. Have you not heard of neighborhood first policy?
Yes.
So we believe in that. So if somebody is bad, you start looking at him with that same prism that you would have looked at your child. No, no, no. He's an errant child, he'll become all right. No, when it comes to dealing between states, if it's a bad state, your prism, your way of looking at him in the lens should not be of trying to behave like a big brother. You have to look at him as one to one. Okay, you are bad, you are bad. There is a particular code of conduct with bad people, there is a code of conduct with good people, there is a code of conduct with people who are neutral today but will become your potential enemies. Identified enemies, potential enemies. If you're going wrong, then you'll repent. And I think there's thousands of years of history where we have been extremely tolerant. You know, the best kind of things is you felt we have a code of conduct. If he lost his sword on the battlefield, you took out your second sword and gave it to him and told him, let's fight. That guy wasn't bothered. He was only looking at your women, wealth. He was not even looking at whether you are alive or dead, but atrocities even with dead corpses. If that is the kind of enemy you have, then you have to have a different way of dealing with them. You cannot be dealing with them in the same way as you deal with your countrymen. Your countrymen, your brethren. But your neighborhood, when there are enemies, they are enemies. They may be talking to you in a very polite language, but at least be realistic, be pragmatic. Okay, you want to do trade, but don't trust. And whatever injuries they have inflicted on you in the decades, don't forget and don't forgive.
So, basically, an extension of that question only. Who are the established enemies? Pakistan, China, and who are the potential enemies?
If I wake you up at night and I ask you a question, who are our enemies? Quickly you will tell me Pakistan and China. Am I
Yes,
right?
yes.
Who ever thought the way Maldives would behave? Whoever thought the way Bangladesh would behave? So the point here I am saying their behavior under good conditions and their behavior during bad conditions. We have to be matured enough, we have to be pragmatic as Indians to say, for me, my nation is supreme and my national interests are first. And in this case, whether in South Asia or far away from us, somebody who doesn't want you to prosper, somebody doesn't want you to become powerful, you put them in a category which can be friends during good time, but definitely not friends during bad time. And that is the way you should be dealing with them.
Well, so basically, don't be too trusting. Be friendly, but don't trust.
Trust but verify.
Yes, that is, of course, there. And of course, we have to also pull up our socks in terms of, I mean, we cannot be complacent. And I think one of the reasons why that we are suddenly seeing a spurt in terrorist activities because perhaps we have become a bit
I
complacent
think,
after.
Joyeeta, before we close, I must tell you one thing,
Yeah.
which is the biggest cause of our misery is corruption.
Okay.
How does one get an Aadhaar card? How does one get a voter ID? How does one get your land documents within a week? See, I'm an honest taxpayer. For me to get these documents, I have to really run around because I'm not willing to bribe. So I'm the bad guy for the guy who's sitting on the table on the other side because I'm not bribing him. So he'll make me run around, he'll make me do that same thing 10 times. Same is the case with my Aadhaar card or my driving license or whatever. But if you are not able to control corruption within your own society, these guys have not landed up from the moon. These guys have not come up from across. They are your own people. They are our own people. I think this realization that get rid of corruption and work as one single entity, and that's what you said, pull up our socks. Pull up our socks in what? Become good, become contributory. Ensure that your one simple corruption for 100 or 1,000 rupees is not creating a problem for the country. So I think when we decipher this, how how is this part?
Yeah, but ultimately, as you've been mentioning, it's also the citizens' duty and not just the government's.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on this show. And it was an absolute pleasure speaking to you. And as I said, it's a privilege actually. And thank you, viewers, for watching. Until the next time.